Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Untold Truth. And today, we're sorry that Zelisa couldn't make it today, but she's out helping people today. She's helped passing out meals and things that people need, water and everything else. So I want to say, Zelisa, if you're listening to us right now, we want to say thank you for going out and helping people. And I want to thank U97 0.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, for having us on tonight. And the only other way we could be here tonight is because of Bola's Signs Contracting and Industries Limited in Orapooch Road, Siparia. Their contact number is 649-2497 or 649-2456. And also Bola's Hardware in Pfizerbad in the Junction, and their number is 677-7477. And if you want good quality products, Shiv, that's where you go.
Okay,
I mean, I haven't been there personally, but I know a lot of people that buy from there, and they say the service is exceptional, and there's a lot of good quality in the products that they sell.
okay.
So again, we want to say thank you for sponsoring this program tonight. Well, today I have a guest, Shivanan. Shivanan, he's been going out with me along with my team, and we've been going around and he's learning, and he's starting to see exactly what we're starting to deal with every day. And today, we're going to talk about, and we have a live audience too, and I want to say thank you for coming tonight. And during this program, I want you to come up to the mic anytime during the program, and I want you to ask your questions on the topic. So tonight's topic is why sometimes your prayers are not answered. Now, Shiv, have you ever wondered that?
Of course, all the time, Master. All the time.
Why?
Well, there are a lot of things that I ask for, and I still haven't got them, and I ask for long periods of time. And that's a question I have. Why sometimes the things that I ask God for is not really handed to me?
Well, we're going to go over that. But first, we have to understand, what is a prayer? You know, we have different beliefs, different religions, different ways of doing prayer. But the question is, are the people that's going to these places, these spiritual institutions, are they being taught how to pray?
That's a good question.
Are they being taught about the process of prayer within yourself before it leaves you and goes up to God Himself? So let's go into the little specifics at the beginning so people will understand what I'm talking about.
Good, good.
It's not about the prayer. It's not about the words you're saying. That will come once you find your sound. Every person in the world has a unique sound. It's like a fingerprint. Nobody's fingerprint is the same. And so is the voice of a person. So, let me give you an example. If you're praying to God and you're on your knees or however you pray and you say your prayer. Now, before the sound comes out, is your mind clear? Is your mind clear of the everyday turmoil that you go through? Or do you still have all that bottled up in before you? Or did somebody get you upset before you went to pray? Now, I was always taught by my guru that you never pray when you're not in the right frame of mind. Because that time of prayer is an intimate time between you and God himself. It's not about who's listening, or they may be makoing you. You know how they say mako here in Trinidad? You know, it's not about that. You don't even care about that. Now, when you pray, is it genuine?
That's a good question, Master.
Now, what they normally do, and everybody gets caught up in it, so don't think nobody's exempt from it. Sometimes the way they're taught to pray is from how it's prayed within their spiritual institution. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own little different way, and that's great, right? But when you do it every day, does it kind of come into a routine? Everybody watching out there, think about it. Is it a routine for you to do your prayers? So everybody has a routine in the morning. By the time they wake up, everybody has their little thing they like to do. And if it doesn't happen in that order, oh my God, they think the whole world's going to fall around, right? But after you do whatever you do, your coffee, your tea, whatever, they like to go and pray. Some pray on the mat facing east. That's the Muslims. You got Christians, and they will pray about anywhere they're at, right? Then you got Hindus. And the Hindus have their prayer area with their murtis, and they light their diyas. But what you don't want your prayers to become just a routine. Now, think about it. Do people pray the same prayer every day? This is what we got to look at. I'm going to bust you out now. Do you pray the same prayer most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah, actually the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, now, do you bring your prayer when you say it from your diaphragm
So there's
and
a
bring
special-
the sound up through your throat? You do not say or sing from your throat. Because prayers are made of certain syllables and pitches. So, if you are doing a prayer, and the prayer, you're just saying, "Oh, Heavenly Father, please be with these today. Thank you for the food." And okay, where's the genuinity of that? Where is the love? Where is that connection you're trying to make with God? You have to be genuine. You have to mean every word you say. Now, a lot of people, they're going to listen to this and say, "Oh my God, I never heard this before. Nobody's ever talked about it before." Remember I talked about your sound. So normally when people come and we have a class, well, you actually went through it, and half the people in the audience went through it too. One or two of the classes, audience, you can say, yeah, they can hear you out there, if you agree. Didn't we work on 1 to 2 times on your sound? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And did you feel a difference? Right. So everybody out there listening, we're going to have more classes in January, because you really need to find that sound. Okay? It's very unique for every individual. Now, when you bring that sound from your diaphragm and you bring it up and you bring it through your throat and you say it out, I want you to know that sound carries through the universe forever.
Continuously.
Sound will never stop once it goes out of the ozone layer. Now, let me explain how that happens. Okay? So now, you're saying your prayer. Or let's say you're singing. And you're singing from that diaphragm and you're really letting it go out. Right? Let me give you an example. Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. While he was on the moon, he heard the azan being called
From Earth.
from Earth.
Wow.
And anybody out there listening right now, he, in his mind, said if he heard something that strong, it had to be real. And he converted to Islam when he came back from the moon. But the reason is that sound carried. NASA has satellites, and they're actually blasting out messages through the universe because they know that sound, that message is going to keep carrying through the universe. Okay? So, everybody listening, you're probably thinking, well, what does that have to do to me, with me? You know? But what it does has a lot to do with you. When you bring that sound in your prayer, and you got that love, and you're being genuine, that sound will carry from you. And it carries in what they class as rays of sound. Rays of sound. So why do you think the word prayer has the word ray in it? Doesn't it make sense?
Wow.
Now, when it leaves you, the magnetic field of the earth that surrounds the earth, it looks like a butterfly, right? That sound goes into that magnetic field and it just is sent out like a beam. But it's a ray, okay? That's why some of the ancient beliefs say that from heaven, God sees all these rays of light coming from the people praying to him on earth. So, did you ever think of this in the audience? Have you ever thought about all of this when you pray? Has anybody taught you about this? Well, you know, I'm glad you come and I'm glad everybody listening on the radio and everybody that, you know, is watching YouTube and Facebook. This is very important. Now, when you're praying, some people say, but Master, they come and see me. You see them come every day.
All the time.
And they say, but Master, I've been praying and praying and praying, but nothing happening. Nothing's happening. Some people pray. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people think that praying just 2 days, you should have it. Okay? But again, now, before we get into all the prayer scenarios, you have to understand the time difference. Now, I'm not talking time zones, people. I'm talking the time difference between God himself and humans here on earth. So, if you've been praying, let's say up to 6 months, you're trying to get a prayer answered. And you're getting kind of fed up, you're getting kind of upset because you feel that God's not hearing you,
True.
right? But he sure is. Now, I want you to understand how it works. Now, in the ancient scriptures, and then we're going to reverse into what science says, okay? In the ancient scriptures, it states that 1 day of God equals 1.86 billion human years.
Whoa, say back that again, Master. I didn't quite hear that. That is a...
These are 4 ancient beliefs, major beliefs,
Right.
okay? Excuse me. That for 1 day of God is 1.86 billion years
On
of
Earth.
human years.
Whoa.
Now, so if you know that time difference, and we're praying for 6 months, and it hasn't materialized yet, let's say he give it to you in 6 months. Isn't that like a nanosecond in God's time?
Yeah.
That's like less than a blink of an eye. But when people ask for something, there's some conditions that apply in the spiritual world, not the human world. And again, everybody, during the program, if you have a question, you please come up, because you're not going to interrupt the show. You're actually going to add to the program. Okay? Now, so we know the time difference.
Right.
Well, let's look at science. Let's look at the Bible, the Christian Bible. God created the world in 6 days.
So he did that real fast, boy.
No, in God's days. And when you add the time up, it almost exactly meets the time that science says the earth is old.
Wow.
So, pardon?
I didn't hear that last part.
The last part is science, the Bible states that God made the world in 6 days. But when you add, when science, the time they say the earth is old, the age of the earth, versus 6 days times 1.86 billion years, it's right on the money.
Wow.
So now, and then we've broken down, these beliefs is broken down time in so specific measurements, it blows science away. Because now science is saying it's matching. This is exactly what's going on. But I just wanted people to understand why maybe it takes a little time to actually have your prayers answered. Now, I've been on for about 20 minutes, and I want to go back and I want to thank the sponsors again. Bola Signs Contracting and Industries Limited in Orapooch Road, Saparia. The numbers are 649-2497 or 649-2456. And also Bola's Hardware in Fyzerbad Junction, Fyzerbad. And the number is 677-7477. And we really want to thank them both for sponsoring us here tonight. Because we really want to teach. This program, The Untold Truth, is not to preach. It is to give people information. Be interactive with people. And last week we had Muslims in here, we had Hindus in here, and we had one Christian, right? But they started participating. And nobody looked at who was different. Everybody was coming together to ask the questions that they wanted answered. So again, if you all want to come up, you come up. Now, we're getting to the part we talked about. Now, here's the problem with a lot of people today. You know, we overthink things. A lot of people overthink things. So, they're praying to God. And they're asking for something. Could be anything. But as they're asking, in their mind, they're thinking, oh my God. Or should I ask for this? Or if I ask for this, it might be wrong. Maybe that's not really what I want.
Wow.
Right? A lot of people's minds are not still when they pray. So, you like playing games?
Of course, all the time, Master.
All right. I'm not going to play a game with you tonight. Can you come up to the mic? Yeah, you. Can you come up to the mic? Okay. Tip the mic down so we can hear you. All right. So no disrespect to God. I want you to forget who you are. Mm-hmm. And I want you, from what you've been taught, to think like how you think God would think. So now, you're hearing somebody, but you just don't hear somebody. You're hearing 500 million praying to you. But this one person kind of catches your eye. And you're seeing them down. And they're praying. Mm-hmm. And when they're praying, you're hearing the prayer. You feel they're being genuine. And they're asking you, please God, help me through this situation. I'm just giving a synopsis, a scenario. I am now placing this in your hands because I believe in you. And then you finish your prayers, but you're still watching. And then the person praying gets up. You're still watching. Why? Because you're all knowing. You know what's going to happen. You know what has happened. And you know what just happened. Mm-hmm. The phone rings. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, the person is talking about what you were talking to God about. And they say, boy, girl, do you know what he did now? You know what I saw him do?
That is 90%.
And you start talking to them about what you just handed to God. And you see that. So can you help that person now?
No,
Why?
because it wasn't genuine.
And didn't they take it from your hands and give it to the person that they're gossiping with now?
Exactly. So it wasn't from your heart.
Correct. It's not that the prayer wasn't from the heart, but the overall intention of giving it to him and not speaking of it
Exactly.
and trusting God to get you through the situation. You just gave it to a human. So I want you to think about it, and I want everybody out there to think about it. How many times have we done this? And then we wonder why the prayer may not have been answered. All right, come on up.
Oh, we have another question.
So what? So what you're saying is that if you ask God for something or you're praying to God, don't tell anybody else about it. Only talk to God about it then.
No, you can pray to God. Don't be scared of the mic. You're doing
No,
good.
no, no.
You're doing good.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying. Now, rephrase your question one more time.
Okay. What I gather is that you're saying is that when you say your prayers to God, you pray to God and ask Him for something. But whatever you ask Him for, that's how to be private. Don't go and tell somebody about it, what you ask God for.
Well, I'm not saying you can't talk to somebody else.
So if
what
you-
I'm saying, if you make the wording, if you were going through something serious and somebody was dying or something is going on,
Right.
and you say, God, I really need your help at this time. Can you please? I will put this in your hands. At that time, when you say, I'm placing this in your hands because I believe and trust in you, you do not talk to other people about it. Because you are pulling that from him. Okay? Now, hasn't the old people, when you grew up, because you're about my age, we're young, you know that? Okay? So, haven't they always told you never talk your business outside?
Yes, but I didn't know it was like for prayer. But according to what you're saying, what I understand is that when you pray to God and whatever you ask Him for with your heart, don't go and tell anybody else because that's your personal belief and your personal thing with God.
That is the best way. I can never tell somebody what to do and what not to do. I can always give you the advice on this is the thing that should be done. But whatever you do, whatever practice you have, keep it. Whatever belief or however people pray to, keep it. Get deeper in your belief. But be sincere and intimate with God. There's a big difference in that. But thank you so much for your question.
Thank you.
Now, so Shiv, have you ever saw what I'm talking about?
All the
Have you
time.
seen people?
A lot of times.
Now, let's say you prayed for, I know you anyhow, you're praying for a good woman to come into your life.
Yes, Master.
You see that?
Continue.
All right. Now,
Oh, we have prompting from the audience.
got comments from the audience, boy, you're famous. So, what I'm trying to say, now you're praying to God for something,
Right.
right? Now, God hears you, but He knows that it's already planned. He already knows it's already planned. Before you're born, your life is written. So, let me give you an example. This is humans. Humans are the most impatient things on earth, right? So now you've prayed to God and you're asking Him, please bring you a nice woman that you could grow together, support each other, and be successful,
Right.
right? But then after 2 months, you don't get it.
Oh, we have a question, Master.
So basically what you're saying is when we pray, we just pray from our heart, but don't ask for anything. Just let it come.
That's part.
All right,
I was
okay.
going to get to that. You're very good. Remember, are you, and most people, think that you have to be in control of everything you do every day?
Yeah, true.
Right. But sometimes our decisions, they're based on emotions. And don't we make some kind of not so good decisions sometimes?
Very true.
Right. Good decisions will delay the good that you are wanting to come to you. But if you can balance God in your life and allow things to also flow to you while you're filtering. And if you have that connection, you'll have that intuition. And start making good decisions. Now, if you are doing that, the things that was predestined for you can come to you.
So you just go with the flow and you accept and you continue. But don't
But-
ask for anything special.
I'm not saying, I can't tell people what to ask for. The most simplest thing you can ask God for is peace of mind.
Understood.
Now, if you have and you ask God for peace of mind, that means your health is okay. Your finances, you can pay your bills. Things are going. You have someone in your life that you could love. Everything around you would be balanced if you have peace of mind. You couldn't have peace of mind if something was off.
Well, if you don't have peace of mind, then you can't pray for truth.
Bingo, and that's what I was saying at the beginning. You got to clear your mind.
Right.
You got to be in that right mindset
Correct.
to talk to God. So now, everything is predestined. So you and your little girl that you're wanting to get in your life,
Yes.
right? So now, let's put your life on a ruler between 1 and 12 inch.
Right.
1 is when you're born,
Right.
and 12 is when, God forbid, you pass on and go up to your real home,
Right.
which is where you came from. Now, now, in God's plan, I'm just giving a scenario, people. I'm not saying you're at inch number 3 or 4 or 2. I'm just giving a scenario. So let's say in your predestined plan, before you were born, the person you were going to meet is going to happen when you come up to inch number 3 in your life.
Right.
But here we go. You're in West Mall, here in the beautiful country of Trinidad and Tobago. And you're walking down the mall. And you look across and you say, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yes.
Look at she, boy. Boy, I gotta get her to notice me. Right? Now this scenario, and I'm gonna ask Anais right over here, isn't this what happens? A lot of times.
90%
Right.
of the time.
Now, you try to connect with that person that's walking. At least bump into them, try to strike a conversation up, and hopefully you're hoping to get a number.
Right.
Right? So now, you sit there and you get the number. Now you're calling she and you're talking for hours and you're trying to go out on a date
And you're
now.
sleeping on the phone on WhatsApp.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, that was at inch 2 3/4.
Oh.
So while you're trying to make a fantasy into reality,
Right.
when that time came, while you're so busy making this other one work, the one that you were supposed to meet, you did see her for a minute, but you were so preoccupied,
You missed it.
you missed it.
So, Master, one question, right? How do you know, like, when you meet the right person? How do you know?
Well, I cheated.
Oh, you cheated.
I was told 2 months before the day I was going to meet my wife. She didn't know it.
Right.
So, but when we came together, you don't have to try to work at it. It just comes. It fits together like a glove on a hand. But what I'm trying to say, people, that's why the divorce rate is 85% in the world today. They did not wait. They tried to make something that was a fantasy into reality. Okay, go with the flow. The other person that just came up here, he was talking to you, go with the flow. Yes. Now, sometimes, when your prayers may not be answered, is it maybe that what you're asking for in your life may not be spiritually good for you?
That is so true.
See, people don't think of all these things when they're praying or before they pray. These things aren't being taught in the spiritual institutions. I don't care what belief you're in. You know, you have to know the full aspects of how spirituality works.
Right.
Religion and spirituality are two separate things. Everybody that has their belief in the religion, it is super important to be in the belief you're in. It is so important to understand the belief that you're in. But then you need to take what you learned from your belief and start your spiritual path. And it's a whole different ball game, people. It's a whole different ball game. Now, so, like I said, if you do not get what you're asking for, rethink and say, is this spiritually good for me? Or is this going to come against me? Now, when I say against me, a lot of people, and in the audience, you know this, people pray for money. So when they pray for money and they get the money, doesn't a lot of people go hog wild with money when they get the money? And they're just wasting the money. And then they want more money and more money. And then if they keep getting more money and more money and more money, it ends up not about money no more. It's about power. It's about power.
Right.
So that praying for that money, like the way they wanted it, it might have been decided that that might not be the best thing for them.
Right.
You know, this is why we really have to assess. Because God, I keep saying it every program, is the greatest architect of the universe. Nobody could have made the universe better than God. Right? So now, we're still waiting. We prayed and we're waiting. Now, I love this next one. But anyhow, we're praying or we're waiting. How many of you out there, and you watching the video tonight, how many of you have ever seen or played the game of chess? Anybody? All right. Now, we're the pawns on the board.
Right.
God himself is the grand master chess player. He's the one watching the whole game take place. So now, we're sitting there. Now, I've said this on a past TV show. When I was young, I was really mischievous.
You, Master.
Oh, God. I was one of the most mischievous kids you could ever meet. Right? So I was here. Now, I know when God's watching because he sees all.
Right.
I was going to make a decision. And I prayed to him about it. But then I changed my mind and I moved to the left. I knew before I did that, he's probably sitting there saying, oh, please don't do that. But I did. God doesn't interfere with your choices because you have free will of choice. So, I made that move. You know, we put God to work. We actually, you know, God can't rest. I'm going to explain this. So when we make that move, and it may not be the right choice, He has to conform everything around you to fit that choice you made, so you would understand it may not have been the right choice. Now, what he's hoping now, you realize now you're going to pray and make the right choice.
Right.
Well, as soon as you make the right choice, we put him to work again. And he has to change everything around you to understand and feel and experience that that was the right choice to make. See, all I'm trying to say, people, you have to balance God in your life. You have to have him in your decisions. You need to have him in your daily life. And once, like the gentleman that came up here, in a way, you're kind of following, you were kind of talking about Taoism, the Tao. That means balance your life. So what you were saying to the audience is, what you understood me, is to go with the flow of the river and not to row the boat against the river. But in Taoism, they even go one step further. And they said, use nature that God gave you. Don't row the boat across the river, because you're going to get tired because of the flow, and you're going to get exhausted. You may not want to go down the river. You may want to go across. So put up a sail and let the wind blow you across the river. And how you do that is with God's help. But a lot of people, Shiv, today, they're too busy. They're too busy with God, for God. But when they pray, normally when they really need God, they come right back and they start praying to him. Now, everybody out there, I want you to understand that God, I'm going to give another synopsis, an example. God is like the sun. He's always there. He's always shining. He's always giving the warmth and the heat. Now, we come out of our house, and I think it's funny. I really do. Because this example really illustrates human beings versus God. And we come outside. Some people, oh gosh, they love it when you walk outside and you feel that warmth. It's like God's hugging you with the sun. But after 10 minutes in that sun, everybody run back in the shade in the air conditioning.
That's true.
Right? And that's what we do daily. But God's still there. He never moved. He never left. And he's waiting you to come back.
Come back.
But a lot of times we don't come back until something happens. Now, I can't say that's wrong, because that's what typical humans do. But why is it that we believe that God should always be there ready 24/7 for us, but we're not also there for him? See, we have to start looking at, make sure the prayers are genuine. Make sure you learn your sound, the proper sound. There's a pitch. You understood that when you took the class.
Right.
Now, make sure you're not putting God to sleep with your prayers. You know, I just illustrated the Christian. You know, I was saying Lord's Prayer.
Right.
Right? Now, what about the Hindus? Oh, go ahead. Next question. Oh, hold on. Go ahead.
So if you don't say the prayer from that pitch you're talking about, God wouldn't answer your prayer?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, to get the best results, is you need to learn. When you pray, I'm going to explain this. When you pray and you make that connection with God, all your hairs on your body is going to raise. The full time you're saying that prayer. Why? You're making that connection. Most people, when they come, they talk to me and they say, well, I feel a calmness. I feel, peace. But I say, do you feel all your hairs raising when
But
you're
then-
saying the prayer? I'm not saying he doesn't hear you the other way. I'm saying to maximize your prayer, you need to have your sound. You need to be genuine. You need to be intimate with God. Not have two minds about something. To make sure he knows what you want.
So even though if you don't make that sound, and to me, I feel that once you have that love in your heart for God, and you pray genuinely, as you say, and well, you're saying about the sound now, which first time I hearing about that, he will still answer your prayer because he knows what
he
is
will.
in your heart.
Now, the sound, when I did the class, the sound is where you start at when you pray. That same sound, after you've mastered the sound, can go to a whisper, and it can go to mental praying. And you have the same effect. So what I'm saying, you don't have to yell it.
I
No.
understand, but most people generally wouldn't make that sound. They wouldn't know about it. They could just pray from the heart.
Right. That's where the genuine part comes from. That's the key to everything. Now, when I say make the sound, if I did a voice analysis of you, and I hear you, and I hear this gentleman here, do you sound the same, or do you
No,
sound
everybody is different.
different? Right. What I'm trying to say is we can maximize the way the rays of sound comes from you, whether it's voice, whisper, or mental praying.
One other question, Master, is that you see, well, what I see and experience is that people who do a lot of bad stuff, you think they're praying and they get into with everything, like you say, with money and everything material. And then those who pray in hard and sincere, that's not happening to them. So then you believe in them doing bad things and good things coming to them, and the genuine people like nothing good happening to them.
Why is
They
that,
have to
Master?
suffer like more.
All right, so let me give you an example. Do you think only good people pray to God?
No, bad people pray to God too.
And even demons. In all the beliefs, demons also pray to God. But demons do all bad things, right? Now, don't you think they're being tested? I want you to think about it. A lot of times, life doesn't seem fair. Like you just said, you struggle, you work hard, you pray hard. Then you got somebody down the road, and he's gambling his money.
Exactly,
He's
yeah.
doing X, Y, Z. But it seems like he always receives from something. But how do you know what he's receiving from? Who is he praying to? A lot of people nowadays are praying to the dark side. Negativity will get faster results here on earth right now than positive. Because the negative energy on earth is a lot more right now. People are not praying. This is why I tell people, learn to pray. How to pray. If you know how to do it in this time, we're in the fourth age of time. And in the Western world, they call this the Iron Age. In the Hindus, they call it Kali Yuga.
Right.
Now, there are less people praying now than there was in the last age or the age before.
Right.
Right? So when you learn how to pray properly, I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. It's not. We can tweak it. We can make it stronger within you. And everybody listening out there, we can do the same thing. Now, when we pray, doesn't God know all? Doesn't he know all? He already knew your life before you were born. So I know some people, now my guru, he'd pray for two things. He would pray for peace of mind, and please let what is predestined for him to come to him if he is worthy at this time. That's all he asked for. That's all he asked for. He didn't ask for a new car. He didn't ask for this. He asked what is written for him. Please let it come to him if he is worthy at this time. A lot of people don't know how much karma we accumulate per day. And that also has an effect on what we may receive and what we may not receive. So we're getting kind of close on time now. But the object of everything today, people, is to get you thinking a little more about when you pray. Know what you're praying for. Don't have two minds. And then the next thing is, when you do receive something, did you ask properly? Was you specific? You know, you may want a car.
Right.
Now in your mind, you know what car you want. Yeah, go ahead.
I know some people do some prayer, and they always say they have a good angel always follow them. So every time they go somewhere, good things always happen. They never had to have anything go wrong with them. You know what I mean? Like they go somewhere, boom, there's a car park waiting for them. They go into a store, cashier is there, nobody in line.
Right.
How does that happen?
Again, your connection. Your connection with God himself. See, a lot of people don't understand. There's a hierarchy structure in the spiritual world. And when you have that connection with God, and you have that trust in God, and you're not trying to control over God in your life, things will run so smooth. They may never hit a red light.
Correct.
Every time they drive, they'll
Green.
come up to the red light.
Correct.
My wife, we'll be in the car, and we're going, and she'll say, all right, God, please, I know you're going to give us a park. Do you know a park comes up?
And that's another thing, because some people, they pray in the morning and think everything is okay. But if you go, like you go in the car, right, and you're going down the road, you say, take me there in peace.
Correct.
You did it again. So you ask for that special protection.
Correct. Being devoted and doing your devotion, no matter what belief you are, will always take you steps closer to God. But if you're just sitting in the spiritual institution, and like that little dog you have on the dash and it bobs your head when you hit a bump.
Bobblehead.
Yeah. If you're just doing that every time you go, and you're not applying it to your life, you're like being leveled out. You're not going to succeed. And I want everybody to know, no matter how bad your life feels now, know how much you've prayed, how much you've concentrated, he's there. All you have to do is acknowledge him. That's it. And start walking a more better life.
Right. And as for the lady just said that the people who pray to the wrong always have, but are they peaceful in mind?
Are they peaceful in mind?
No, they're not.
No. And are they asking in the state of greed? You know, there's a lot. there's hatred, there's greed, there's jealousy.
Correct.
All of this.
They're always
Now,
angry.
there's an old saying. God gives people rope.
Yeah.
And the more they get, the more they get, the
Yes.
more they get, the people gonna hang
Hang
themselves.
Correct. Very well
Okay, so all I'm trying to say, and I love the questions here tonight because it really added to the substance of the program tonight. But before we go, we only have 3 minutes left. But I really want to thank our sponsors tonight. Bolo Signs Contracting and Industries Limited in Orapooch Road, Saparia. The numbers are 649-2497 and 2456. And Bola's Hardware. If you want good products, great staff, great service, go to Bola's Hardware, Pfizerbad Junction in Pfizerbad at 677-7477. And I really want to thank them for sponsoring the program tonight. Everybody, I know you've been listening, and you may be in your car. You might be driving because this is going over the radio also. I want you to think about how you pray. And maybe some of these scenarios tonight, does this apply to you? Only you can answer that. And if you want to try to learn more, understand more, because we just scratched the surface of just prayer. In January, we're going to have big classes. And I'll have about 150 people in here. And we're going to have 2-day classes on a weekend. Over the weekend, you're going to have a lot better knowledge. No matter what belief you're in. We're not going to convert nobody. It's all about how you pray within your own belief. But is there any other questions? Do you have a question, Shiv, before
No, sir.
we go?
It's a pleasure to be here, alongside you. And, we want to say thanks to the audience, for showing up tonight.
Exactly. I want to say thank you. Anais, I want to say thank you for coming. And this is just to give you a little more knowledge. And if we do have some habits that interfere with our prayers, try to eliminate them. Try to make it a little better. Okay? And next week, wait for that one. I'm not even going to tell you what it's going to be. All I can say, next Friday night on this podcast, somehow manufacture a seatbelt on your chair. Because we're going to go for a ride. And it's going to be about things that you do, but you didn't know. It's going to be about things that can hinder you in life, success, marriage. Everything that encompasses around you is going to be included in that program next week. So everyone, it's been a pleasure. And thank you for tuning in, listening, and you have a great night.